I don't know. It's been so fucking hot here in Cape Town that I don't even know what's going on.
It's like hottest place in the world at the moment.
The last 3 days have been unreal, like ridiculous.
I saw you were hiding in your deep freeze the other day.
It got that bad. It got so bad that I emptied out the deep freeze and I just got in there because it was too much. It's too much, dude.
And besides the heat, how's things going, Mr. Madge? Living the MMA dream in your gym back in the homeland. What's been happening?
Working hard. Got my running my business, doing my thing. My son. We are living the dream, as one would say.
Fantastic. And how's the start of 2022 been? Everything going smooth?
Yeah, so far so good. Hey, like started like my pre-season training like throughout. I mean, I trained throughout December and started kicking things up now in January, and start going full swing from Feb.
Nice. Big fight over the weekend. What did you think of UFC 270?
I mean, I thought it was amazing. I thought Ngannou showed like a lot of improvements in his game. He looked like he had a strategy. It almost looked like he wanted it to go 5 rounds. It looks like he kind of took the first 2 rounds off, and then his whole game plan changed from round 3.
I wanted to ask you because this is. I saw a couple of guys saying it was boring and was this and was that. I don't think they quite understand the kind of at that sort of division, like in the heavyweights, with the guys who got so much power, how much is at stake? I think for both guys, make one mistake and the fight's over. On top of being that far in your career and still making those kind of adjustments, what would you say to guys saying like that's a boring kind of fight, knowing what had to have gone on in the background for Francis to make those developments?
Like I always think like when you're the champion, all you gotta do is win. And like obviously everyone wants to see a guy knock someone out. Everyone wants to see like guys trading and taking damage and stuff like that. But Francis is the champion, and he wanted to stay the champion. And I think the way that he fought him was the perfect way to fight him. You could see he was going to get outpointed on the feet. So if he carried on doing that, the first 2 rounds he lost outright, you could see. And I think like a real champion knows to put their like pride in their pockets and say, I need to get the win, and how am I going to get the win? This is how I'm going to get the win. I'm going to do it. You can look at a guy like Cody Garbrandt, who can't put his pride in his pocket ever, and could easily beat guys that he's lost to, but instead tries to fight them with his ego, and ends up getting slept. Guys like you look at guys like Khabib, who never sort of changed their style ever, and they just they know how to win, and I think Francis realized, okay, it's great to knock guys out, but he was fighting a more technical striker, and the fact of the matter is they were the same size. Francis usually like towers over guys, and in order to land, like I don't think Francis land like any clean strikes on Gunn at all.
Sure.
So I mean on the feet, so I think like as a champion, you got to do what you got to do to win. And I think the adjustments to be able to make an adjustment mid-fight is like super high level. And I don't think like a lot of people realize that, because Gon couldn't make an adjustment mid-fight.
Sure.
He didn't realize he couldn't make the adjustment like, oh, okay, it's a grappling fight now. I've got to switch up my style now. I've got to make this a different fight now. Instead, he was just trying to do the same things over and over and over. And Francis didn't. Francis changed his game, and that's what got him the win. I think it was brilliant. I thought it was amazing to see him just like smother Gunn for the last 3 rounds.
Sure. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, if you look at the situation with Francis Ngannou, and obviously there's obvious problems there with him in the UFC. I mean, he's the heavyweight champion. It's quite astounding to see how they've gone about it. Obviously, I mean, like it's difficult when you start to throw in things like, you know, you want to box and you want to do this, and I guess he's got a long list of demands, but sometimes you think it's part and parcel of being the heavyweight champ. You obviously had a similar experience. You felt out of favor with the UFC, that they weren't all happy about a couple of things, and then to have to go in, and for someone like Francis, who's really like marquee, to go in and have to perform still under those circumstances, you know, a loss there takes away everything. Like, you're not boxing anybody without the belt, and you're not calling the shots without the belt anymore, you know. So he had a lot of extra pressures on his shoulder. Talk to us about that. What do you think he would have had to deal with in his mind going into that, knowing that he's fully fledged all his bets on himself winning that title?
Well, you know, like that's kind of like goes to my point that we were talking about before. You know, he knows he needed to win. So whatever you got to do to win is what you got to do, because, you know, he was kind of put in a corner where he was saying, you know, I mean, I think he made what, $500K for that fight to win as the heavyweight. As the heavyweight champion of the world. You know, I think like Sean O'Malley made something close to that in his last fight. He's a fucking console. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I understand I think if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you can demand what you want. You're the heavyweight champ. You're the baddest of the baddest. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already, UFC is already like a 1% or like a fucking 0.1%. Of the population, and you're the baddest of the population of that 0.1%. So like, yeah, you should be able to get some demands. You know, like if you look at boxing and you look at Tyson Fury wouldn't fucking get out of bed for $500K. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I understand. I think Francis is completely in his right with what he's saying. I mean, he's the heavyweight champion, dude. You got to respect the champion, bro. And I think the fact that he knew he had to win, because the UFC was gonna absolutely like shit all over him if he had lost. I mean, you can see like this was the first time ever that they didn't show any highlights on Twitter or on Instagram of his fights. Like, Dana didn't come into the octagon to give him his belt. Like, he hasn't even said a word about the Francis fight yet, you know, and that's his heavyweight champion. And it's just like, man, like you kind of wonder, like why wouldn't Ngannou stay in the UFC? Why would he? He could go fight. Yeah. He could go fight anywhere right now and make $500,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he could go Bellator, he could go PFL, he could go anywhere and make $500,000 because he's Francis Ngannou. He's a superstar.
Does seeing those kind of actions, like almost I'm trying to find the word, like almost like justify a move for you, like having to see the heavyweight champion being dealt with something like that, you know, like it's pretty petty stuff, like not having Dana put his belt on and skipping the press conference. He doesn't really want to answer the questions. And does that kind of like give you reassurance in a way that you know, perhaps things have worked out for the best for you, to see how that's how things are done?
Well, you know, like when you're young and you come into the when you come into the UFC, you know, you're like wide-eyed and you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, you know. And then you start to like learn the game, and you start to learn like, okay, if you're not in with the fucking right group, then you're basically just a seat filler. You're not really a the fact of the matter is that, like, unless the UFC like you, you're never gonna fight for a title.
Sure.
You will never ever fight for a title, because we all know that styles make fights, matchups make careers. You know what I mean? Like, if you get favorable matchups your whole career, you're always going to be the champion. Like, it's just like, I guarantee Sean O'Malley will eventually become champion. He's not going to fight for the title while Peter Yan's fucking around there. I'll tell you that right now. They're going to wait for Peter Yan to duck, and then they're going to be like, Sean O'Malley, let's go fight for the title. You know what I mean? Like, because they know, like, hey, listen, that guy's going to whoop your ass. So like, let's protect our moneymaker. And I think like a lot of people on the outside don't understand that that's how the business actually works. Is that it's not the best it's not necessarily the best guy that's going to get to the title fights. Yeah, of course, the best guy will keep the title for sure, because once you get there, you have to keep it. Like Alexander Volkanovski. You know, if you get there, you can keep it. You're the best guy. You know, but not always the best guy fighting for the title. And it's you know, before Francis started speaking his mind, he was the favored one. You know, he was everywhere. They were promoting him. He was their guy. You know, but because he did something that they didn't agree with, or Dana didn't like, or the media machine didn't like, all of a sudden now he's not their guy. You know, and it's such a fickle sport like that, and it's yeah. I mean, like I knew it after. You know, I think like after my debut, I started like figuring out, you know, like, oh shit, okay, wait, hang on. Like, you're not gonna get fights unless you basically fucking suck this dude's dick. Like you're not gonna get media time unless you play this type of game, you know. And for someone like me, you know, I can only be me. I can only be who I am, you know. I can only do things the way I do things. I can't pretend. I can't put on a fucking act and try to be like Miss America, you know. Like I just can't. I just can't do it. So like yeah. I mean, it's definitely I hope it's an eye opener to everyone else, because if they're gonna treat their champion like that, imagine how they treat a guy like me.
Sure.
Who's not even in the fucking top 20. They don't even give a fuck about you. Do you know what I mean? They treat the champion like that. Imagine how they treat the rest of the guys. They don't give a shit. That's just the way it is. That's the machine, you know? Like, that's the machine.
Yeah, I felt that was one of like the scariest developments for me. Like, obviously, you I mean, if you've listened long enough, you've heard, besides yourself, obviously, like stories where people are like begging for matchups, and you know, you lose one that they wanted you to win, kind of thing, or you didn't put on the performance perhaps that they had in mind, and it becomes troublesome, and you get benched and you get iced. And I mean, it's not, to be fair, it's not unique to the UFC. I think it's just on like a higher scale. And then you see someone like Francis, who's so unique in not only what he's achieved, but what he represents. I mean, this big African surge, you know, he's the man, you know. And to see that unfold was pretty wild from my stand.
I mean,
but anyway,
it's quite like yeah, it's like it makes you sort of question, like, it makes you question a lot of things. Like, you know his backstory, you know what he had to go through to get where he is, and you're still going to try to do him dirty. It's just like, hey, if people don't realize that the UFC it's not a sports promotion anymore, it's a fucking entertainment business. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's the same reason that Islam Makhachev isn't fighting for a title right now, because he's boring as fuck to watch. No one wants to watch him fight. And that's the thing. He's the best guy in the division, other than Charles Oliveira, in my opinion. I think Charles Oliveira is the best guy. But I think after him is Islam, for sure, like by a fucking country mile.
Yeah.
But he's not even in the title like talk right now from the UFC side, you know? Like he's like, hey, I've won 9 in a row, 10 in a row. Like, give me a title fight. But he's boring as shit and he can't speak English, so no one cares. You know, like that's just the fact. That's just how it is. You know, so like, I think the longer the UFC is around, the more people are going to start to see that it's more entertainment than it is sports.
Yeah, 100%. It is like that, though. It's like you said, the styles, but styles have to be favorable for them as well. Yeah. Don, I wanted to chat to you. Obviously, the last time we spoke was just before, was like, I think, as you announced your signing for PFL. Yeah. Now that the debut's behind you, thoughts, experience, what the whole transition's been like for you moving to PFL?
I mean, it was amazing. Like from the way like the guys treated us at the Athlete Hotel, and from the promotion itself, and I just felt like really, I felt really like taken care of the whole time. You know. Obviously, it wasn't the best week for me because I got really, really sick, and it kind of, I threw a spanner in the works. But other than that, you know, it was an amazing experience. You know, it's cool because they're only like 35 or 40 shows in, you know, so like they're still new, and so it's nice to be able to get part of the growth of it, you know. And if you can arise and become a star in a promotion like this that has the potential to be massive, you know, it's good to be there in the beginning.
And there's obviously been a lot of talk about you now in the season in 2022 with the $1 million up for grabs. How much you know, and how much can you share about when will you be fighting? When does it kick off? Those kind of things.
So as far as I know, I should be the end of April. So the last week of April is when they'll do the lightweights. The season obviously the season starts now. Like I think they got the Challenger Series in February, but then the actual regular season is in April, and I think it's the second last and the last week of April. So I think they're doing welterweight the second last week, and then lightweights the last week. So I should fight probably the last Friday of April. We don't know the roster yet. We don't know who's in the division yet, but we have like a rough idea. My manager and I have been talking rough idea of who might be in and who we might want.
Awesome. And what's the motivation like now to almost smell that $1 million? Obviously, you got to walk through a baptism of fire to get there. Is that like, is it almost like a target, like a belt would be for a championship? You've got your eyes on the $1 million.
Yeah, like I didn't even really sort of celebrate my last win. Kind of just was like, that wasn't the goal. That was just like a step in the right direction. And I probably won't feel satisfied until, it doesn't matter how many wins I get back to back now. I won't feel satisfied until I've got a belt around my waist. It's the $1 million, but it's also just becoming a world champion.
Sure.
Becoming the best guy out of their best guys. You say like I'm the best guy out of all the guys that you could have beat. I'm the best one. That for me is like the real driving factor. And, like after you make all your money in fighting, you have to have a legacy. And so for me, that's part of my legacy. To win world titles, to have something to look back on and write in the history books.
This is from David Klebenau. He says, who are you most excited to face in the PFL, and who he thinks is going to be his toughest opponent?
Excited to face, I guess. Like I already spoke to my manager, and I said, like, if we can get my first match to be the champion, I'll be very, very happy on that. And I think the toughest challenge will probably be I don't know. I kind of think the whole tournament in general is going to be the challenge. It's a busy schedule. It's back-to-back fighting. It's basically 8 months of training camp and competition. So I think the actual tournament itself is going to be the most challenging part. But I'm very, very, very keen to face the champion first. I'm hoping and praying I get him first.
Awesome. The next one was from Xander Duplessis. He says, asked how many fights do you think you'll have until you have to fight get a title shot?
So it's you get two group matches. So like for points. So you have 2 fights, and then each win is a certain amount of points. So like a first round stoppage is X amount of points, second round stoppage, and so on. And then if you lose, you get -2 points. So you have your first 2 fights. Whoever the 2 highest scorers are will face each other in the qualifiers, and then the finals will be the guys who win their playoff matches. So possibly 3 fights to the title shot.
Not too bad. Mr. Justin Micah wants to know the following. Each of your last 3 fights had big gaps between them, and in my opinion, you came out a different fighter in each fight in terms of using different sides to your game. How do you keep evolving as a fighter? So many athletes reach their peak performance and just can't evolve past it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is like sort of my secret to my game is that I'm always I'm very, very self-critical. So I always record a lot of my sessions, and like I just pick apart. I just basically just sit there and shit on myself for like hours. And like, oh, that was shit. That was useless. You fucking dropped the ball there. You did that, So I'm like super obsessive. So if I see something that I think is a weakness, then I'll just be obsessive and just try and fix that hole. And I think that's kind of the thing that's kind of kept me from being stagnant, is that every single time that I see that, I'm like, okay, no, we need to fix that. Okay, no, we need to fix that. And I'll just put myself, if it's like, I can only really give like an example for like jujitsu. Is like, if I figure out that I'm pretty shit in one position, I'll put myself in that position every single day, and I'll have the best guys on the mat put me in that position every single day, and I'll figure out until that is my best position. And that's kind of how I do it with everything. If I'm working on my boxing and I feel like I need to work on my jab, I'll spar and I'll literally just use my jab. Even if I get the shit beaten out of me, I'll just use my jab, because I'll be like, you know what, I got to land this jab as many times as I can. So I'm just gonna fucking throw the jab and hope for the best. Yeah.
Awesome. The next question, let's find it from Jean Colo Torino. It says, how do you manage your strength and cardio training workload with skills training workload to prevent overtraining or undertraining?
Yeah, so that's a really tricky one. Like, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to balance everything and not overtrain. That's for me the scary thing is always overtraining, because
sure,
I'm always trying to do more and more and more and more and fit as much into the day. That's why you got to have like coaches in each field. Like I have my strength and conditioning coach is a biokineticist, so he programs all my training. He tells me when I need to rest. He tells me when I'm peaking, when I need to like pull back, when I need to do less sessions, when I need to, when I need to rest. He'll say, okay, no, you can't. You can only do one martial arts session today, and you can do one conditioning session. Like that's it. You can't do 4 martial arts sessions and a conditioning session today. Like you need to take it easy. And it's the same with like all your other coaches. And you have to speak with your coaches and say like, maybe they see something, they see you sort of like losing concentration in sessions and stuff like that. That's usually quite a big sign that you're overtrained. Like it's you got to give yourself to the mercy of your coaching team, and just be like, let them say like, okay, you need a rest, or you need to pick up, you need to do more. Like if I'm in a training session and the coach that's running the session tells me I need to do, I don't know, like 1,000 kicks on the bag, I'm gonna do them. I'm just gonna do them. It's just who I am. I feel like I'm very coachable, so I just do what I'm told, and I try to do everything I can to minimize risk. So I'll see a physio as many times as I can. I do hot and cold therapy. I use as many supplements as I can to help aid my training. I try to make sure my nutrition's on point. Like it's all these like little things that you got to do in order to make sure that you're fine tuned.
Awesome. Let me find, there's a couple more. I think I'll just give you one more so you can carry on it today. Hats off to Don Madge for the epic battle with Boyd back in the EFC. Definitely one for the history books. That's just a compliment, no real question. There was this one from MJ. So what age are you too old to start professional fighting? Like, in your opinion, can someone still start fighting professionally at a certain age?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think like
there's a lot of factors involved there. You know what I mean? Like shape, fighting shape. Yeah,
exactly. Like if you are a person that's been athletic your whole life and you're like in great shape and you're like a genetic freak, you're an athlete. If you're an athletic guy and you're very competitive, if you're like starts only at 25, you probably have a career ahead of you still.
Sure.
But if you're like some dude that's like not necessarily like genetically gifted or not like very coordinated or athletic, and you like, I want to start becoming a fighter at 25, I'd probably say to you like, hey, what's your day job? Oh, you're an accountant. Be an accountant. You know what I mean? I'll never forget like my mom when I first started wanting to fight. She was like, she said to me, she was like, "You have such a pretty face. You have such a pretty face. You can do so much more than fight people." And I'm like, you know, she was probably right, but I was too dumb to like listen to her advice. So, you know, that's always my advice. You know, if I see like a young boy, young, good-looking guy, and he's like, "Oh, I want to be a fighter," I'm like, "Bruh, you could probably make money taking photos of yourself. Like, do that rather. Bro. Do that. You know what I mean? Like, don't get beaten up." You know, like I was having this conversation with Matt the other day, and we were saying like talking about Mateo and oh, by the way, how's your boy doing?
He's fantastic, bro. He's hitting that teething stage now. So
oh, really?
He's not happy at the moment, but otherwise he's perfect.
our little guy as well. His bottom teeth are starting to like push through, and it's an experience.
It's not fun time. Not fun time.
Experience.
For all you parents to be out there, you think everything's smooth sailing until the teeth start popping. That's when things start getting.
I mean, he was just sleeping through the night, and like now his teeth are coming, and it's also hotter than hell here. So it's like it's interesting. And,
it's like an evolutionary trick just to mess with parents' teething.
Yeah, right. You think it's like cool, and then like this new thing comes, and it's like, oh no, it's not cool. But yeah, Matt and I were talking about that, and he was like, "Oh, do you think you're gonna like want Mateo to fight and stuff like that?" And I was like, you know, if I see him in the gym and I see he's like special, you know, and you can see like he's special, like he's got like something. And you think like, okay, no, that kid's elite. I'll be like, okay, maybe we can try. But if he's good, but he's not like excellent or like whatever, I must say, like, listen, son, there's so much more. Daddy did all the fighting for you. Daddy did all the fighting. Daddy went to go fight all these people for millions of dollars and stuff like that. Daddy did all that work so that you don't have to do it.
Sure.
Learn the lesson that I didn't learn. Don't get punched in the face for money.
Yeah. And if you do, you got to start in the bottom by living in Thailand and not in Tiger Muay Thai. We're going to stick you in the jungle.
It's not going to be lacquer here in Cape Town. Go to the beach. It's not going to be that. You know, it's going to be cut.
That's just fire for sure. Awesome, man. Don Madge, thank you so much for your time, man. Always good catching up with you. Hopefully, we're going to see you in the PFL. The announcements are going to start ringing through as soon as the Challenger Series is done. And hopefully soon we'll see you on the path to the $1 million, baby.
You know. That's what we're doing, baby. I'm going to see you. I'm coming up in March for the Cobrinha seminar. So I'll catch up with you then.
Very nice. Thank you, dude. Look forward to it. Catch you soon, bro. Have a good one.
Brother. Thank you.
Ciao, man.